There are some of you who are very empathetic, you are very selfless, and sometimes it feels like a burden to be that way, and it seems like not everybody is. But I would tell you that your empathy is really your superpower. You just have to know how to use it. And if you would like to know how, keep listening to this episode. You are the good one, the rule follower, the peacekeeper, always putting others first, just like they taught you. But those good behaviors weren't preparing you for success, they were training you for compliance. If you're exhausted from always putting others first and managing everyone's emotions while your dreams take a back seat, what if I told you that that's the same emotional intelligence that is your untapped superpower? Hi, I'm Rico Armstrong, and this is the podcast that helps you break free from the people-pleasing compliance trap and master the hidden language of influence and leadership that transforms your dream career and relationships into reality. All right, so in this episode, we're going to talk about how your natural ability to read a room, to sense people's emotions, to be empathetic is your superpower and not your burden. Although it's understandable why it feels like a burden sometimes, because when you are really empathetic, people can sense that. And in a world where there's so much pain, people have sustained a lot of emotional abuse or trauma, the amount of stress that people are under and feeling like nobody really gets them and understands them. When they come across somebody like you who is kind, who is selfless, who wants to help other people, man, it seems like the world just decides to find you. and it's like, oh, this empathy can sometimes feel like a burden, almost like a curse. And then you wish you could just get the same in return. But the reality is that your selflessness and your ability to empathize with people is not as common as one might think. And your ability to give off that energy makes you very valuable and makes you very unique. Now, if you heard the episode before this one, we talked about how to protect yourself from being just drained all the time as someone who gives a lot to others. And we talked about how important it is to set up boundaries. But now we're going to talk about how to actually use this gift as kind of like your superpower for influence to others. And one of the books that there's two books that I would recommend if you just want to read on your own. One of them is called Nonviolent Communication. I think it's by the author's name, I believe, is Marshall Rosenberg. I could have that name messed up, but the book is Nonviolent Communication. And the other book is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And what I find that's interesting is that both of them find a way to use empathy as the tool to help communicate with other people better. And more people and experts and leaders are now have come to the realization that if you really want to make an impact with people, it's not just about forcing them with your words. It's not about being the loudest and not necessarily the funniest or the most memorable in some quirky kind of way. It's literally your ability that you have naturally or that you've learned over the years to be empathetic. And if you read the books, one of the things that's really fascinating to me is in the book, Never Split the Difference, he actually gives this a label, a term called tactical empathy. And while I love the book, I always struggled with labeling empathy as tactical because it feels on the surface kind of manipulative, like you are tactically trying to weaponize empathy is what it feels like when I first hear that. But the more that I really understand what he was saying and really understanding what other people in this space are talking about, the more I understand why he labeled it that way. And the way I can best describe it, at least in this moment, is if you can remember back when you were in school. And do you remember when you first started learning math? Not like algebra and all that stuff, but like even something like, addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. If you can remember way back when, and um, and maybe the teacher gave you a test, and you wrote the answers on the test because you're super smart. I was a solid B student in math, but let's say you were super smart. You wrote down the answers, you turned in your test, and the teacher said, you got the right answers, but I don't know how you got the answers. I need you to show your work. Do you remember that? It was so aggravating because on the one hand, it's like, if I got the right answer, why can't you just take it? And on the other hand, especially as you get older, you understand, like, man, I could have cheated. I could have just said the right things. I could have looked on somebody else's paper. Who knows how I got that right answer? And so how you got there actually mattered. And that is what tactical empathy is like in a real conversation with people. You are showing the other person not simply that you got the right answer, which in the context of communication, you are not just telling them, I hear you. You're not just telling the other person, I understand you. You are showing your work. You are showing your work through words, why and how you have come to understand the other person. Hey, real quick, you have a choice. You can either stay trapped in the exhausting compliance of people pleasing, or you can transform your natural gifts into influential power. And this is why you're invited to the Impact Leaders Circle, where empathetic professionals like yourself become influential leaders. Now, if you decide to be a VIP member of this circle, you can get up to $4,500 in bonuses. That includes the $1,000 Communication Mastery Program. And there's only 20 spots available to be a VIP member of that circle. However, if you just want to be a part of the circle and not necessarily a VIP with the $4,500 of bonuses, that's okay. We will still give you that $1,000 Communication Mastery Program for free. So if you want to take one of those 20 spots in the VIP or just simply join the circle, make sure to visit highlyeffectivecommunication.com. And showing your work is what the vast majority of people miss when they think they are being empathetic like you are. And this is the reason why if you have people that are gravitating towards you because you made the other person or people in your lives feel understood and valued. If you go back to those conversations, I'm willing to bet money, in all likeliness, that you didn't just tell the person I understand, hey, look, I get it, or something along those lines. You probably said something that made them respond in a version of, yeah, that's right. For example, has anybody ever come to you when they went through a breakup? Now, let's say it was a bad breakup too. They come to you, it's like, so-and-so cheated on me, and blah, 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 blah. And you were like, what a jerk, what a whatever. You called this person some names. And the other person said, yeah, that's right. And another thing. And then they continued on because they felt like you provided a safe space to say what's on their mind because you validated their emotions. That was part of your empathy at play. Maybe you're a parent and you've had a child come to you crying over something that seems very silly. So-and-so took my toy and they won't give it back, even though I didn't want it at the time. Boo-hoo, right? And as a parent, you could be like, shut up. That would be so cold, wouldn't it? Or you can empathize with that child in the moment before giving them the discipline or the counsel that they need to correct their thinking. And because you do that, now your child feels safe to come back to you with whatever emotions that they may have. Sometimes this feels like a burden, but this is your superpower. Because if you show your work in showing empathy, you're not just validating people's emotions. You are also creating a safe space for the other person to open up their mind to other ideas and other possibilities that are not currently in their brain. And maybe those ideas and those possibilities could be yours, that you say out loud and influence other people for the better. There is a systematic way, or not a systematic way, there's just principles. There are principles that have been discovered to be pretty timeless across time. People who are comedians, people who are storytellers, have the same or similar type formulas or principles that they follow that make them funny, that make them tell a story that sucks you in, that make you want to follow somebody. Some of the best leaders who are not doing it by being bullies are doing that by connecting with people. And the only way they connect with people is by empathy and the way that they communicate. And so this podcast is here for you to figure out how to use your selflessness and your empathy and your natural gifts in order to connect with people in a way that transforms your career and your relationships with your boss, your employees, your peers, and for those in your personal life too, so you can get the things that you deserve. And if you would like more details on exactly how to do that, you can always check out our Impact Leaders Circle, where we actually have an entire course program, among other things, to really nail down things specific to you and your circumstance and your personality to figure out how can you use your empathy as a superpower for good, so that way you and everybody else around you can succeed and be happy. So that is all for today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I look forward to talking with you next time. Now, if today's episode resonated with you, check out our Impact Leaders Circle on our website. And until next time, remember, you weren't taught to communicate, you were taught to comply. But you are more than just a people pleaser. Let's rewrite that script.